This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This season marks a new beginning. Witness the raw power, iconic sound, and pure speed from the historic Lotus 79. Experience the competition and glory days of early 80s open-wheel action. Watch as drivers wrestle these ground effects cars into submission. Drivers will face off wheel to wheel. For some, it's a chance at redemption. For others, an opportunity to make a statement. All sharing the same goal, to be crowned champion. Who will be victorious tonight? The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker starts now.
You are looking live at the virtual Barber Motorsports Park, a beautiful and fairly new facility located in the rolling hills of Alabama. Now, this track was built for things like motorcycle racing and club cars. But the IndyCar Series first graced this facility back in 2010, and now Barber's popularity amongst fans and drivers alike is nearly unmatched. Tonight, some of iRacing's best will set sail around this course in a vintage car, giving us perhaps a little bit of a glimpse of what racing could have been like had this facility just been built about 3 decades earlier. It is Thursday night, and we are live on the iRacing Esports Network. This is round 10 of the Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Butt Kicker, the minus 273 Grand Prix of Barber. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday night. I'm Jason Galvin, joined in the booth tonight once again by the banker, Brian Yazik. I'm Ted Yaman, calling the shots with the cameras provided from a good friend, Dougie Beard. And this, of course, is the Sim Experience Countdown to the Green. Yes, we both got a lot of experience at Barber 24 hours ago in a slightly faster car, but this is a track that has been, as I mentioned, not only a staple on the IndyCar Series for several years now, but also in the Lionheart Series in both IndyCar and Retro. Barber, just a track that I think everybody likes coming to. It is very technical.
It is, Jason. You're absolutely right. I mean, the technicality of this place, it's unique because the whole area was founded as a motorcycle Hall of Fame. So you kind of see the layout, and when you take that approach into it, and you see that it's a 16-turn road course with 7 turns to the left, 9 turns to the right, and you kind of take that MotoGP sort of look to it. You see how it's laid out, you see the flows, and now you add 2 more tires, a bunch of downforce, and you kind of see what we're going to run across. Now, we could talk about this, but we've got our lap guide that we can take you around here in the Barber Motorsports Park in the GSRC Lotus 79 machine. So without further ado, here we go.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Barber. Down into turn 1, you'll be carrying a ton of speed, so it's very tough to execute passes into here. You'll need to be on your toes too, because it leads directly into the Alabama roller coaster. This is a long, undulating double apex bend. The exit here is extremely important as well, because a bad run could put you under threat into the next corner. Charlotte's Web is easily the most common place for overtakes on the circuit, but the dip downhill right as you hit the left pedal means braking late could leave you coming in too hot. To add to the difficulty, the corner opens up on the exit, so steering and finding traction will be tricky. Drift the car off to the left, and then you've got the notorious museum corner to tackle. You're braking and turning while the car gets light, but you're also threading the needle between these curves. The compression at the bottom of the hill should make finding the power a little easier, but right away, the back half of the course is unrelenting. 10 and 11 need a lot of precision and bravery to stay flat-footed. There's just no downtime around this track, and it's only a short blast up to 12 and 13. Drivers are fully committed plunging the car into here, and you'll see competitors of all skill levels have trouble keeping the car straight coming over this crest. Now you're into 14 and 15, which act as one continuous curve. Hug the inside of 15 to set yourself up better for the final corner. There's some banking here, but it's surprisingly easy to understeer off into the grass. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Barber.
You see just how to get around this place. It's very tricky. Galvin and I, we had a lot of fun in the IndyCar last night. I tried teaching him how to get through some of the track, but he didn't listen.
Okay. I listened once, and then it put me in the wall.
He didn't listen correctly. That's what it boils down to.
That is correct. That is correct. You know, I've been told that I'm a good teacher and a terrible student. Nobody ever told me the teacher part. I just made it up, but we're going to go with it.
I mean, you know who is a good teacher, though? It's Sim Experience.
Oh, yes, sir. Sim Experience, Countdown to the Green, brought to you by them, of course, the team behind the AccuForce Pro V2 direct drive steering systems, which several of our drivers are using here tonight. By providing unparalleled realism and the most advanced tuning features on the market, the AccuForce provides a significant advantage to any sim racer, and it can also make for an effective training tool for real-world drivers. If you want more information on the entire Sim Experience ecosystem, that includes the GS5 Stage Series motion systems and, of course, that great Sim Vibe software. Go to simexperience.com. No E on the start of experience. You can see on your screen there. Insert promo code for 5% off of that Sim Vibe software as well. SimXLion is the promo code. SimXLion will get you 5% off the Sim Vibe software. There is, of course, a championship battle that is heating up here in the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker. And there you see it, Ryan Otis right now with a semi-comfortable 100-point lead over Dustin Wardlow. Sage Karam, who was questionable to attend this race, is third in points and just 4 points behind Wardlow. And Mark Cohn sits fourth, 9 points back of Wardlow. Really right now, there's about 5 cars that are within striking distance of second in points there in Dustin Wardlow, if not more, really. You go all the way back to Chris Lanini in ninth, and any given night, a fifth-place finish combined with an early wreck, and you could see those two maybe swap places from second all the way to ninth. Super competitive here in the Retro Series as we take a look now at the team championship this year in the Lionheart Retro Series. And you'll see the defending champions, Raven Motorsports, right back on top there of the Lionheart Retro team standings, presented by our good friends at Plasma Tracks, plasma-tracks.com. You want to check out their great products. Barber, one of the tracks they produced, by the way, on Plasma Tracks. NLR Sim Racing is second. Raven Motorsports silver. Talk about a dominating season so far from the boys at Raven, with first and second in driver points with Otis and Wardlow, and a pretty solid team there sitting in third with Anzaldo and Hacker and Jagerlener as well. Let's take a look at Rookie of the Year. This is also brought to you by Butt Kicker, and Sage Karam leads the way by 5 points right now over Mark Cohn. George Sandman is third, 20 points back, followed by Mardi Gras, Keaton Hall. And finally, Mr. Jenkins down there in fifth in the Rookie of the Year points. Right now, weather this afternoon could play a factor into this race as well. It is 81 degrees in this late afternoon with winds to the southwest at 4 miles per hour. Shouldn't see the winds really affect things. It's interesting to note, though, Yaz, looks like there's a lot of cloud cover out here for this race, which there also was last night at Barber with the IndyCar setup, and not a lot of tire fall off. Of course, the Retro car really doesn't have a lot of tire fall off, so if you combine those two things, then it could be a fairly smooth race as far as how the car handles.
Yeah, and I drove this race last year, and that was the thing that was kind of straightforward for me as we look on board the minus 273 cam above the helmet there of Brian Otis, and you just see kind of how he's going through here. I mean, the Lotus really kind of does react to this place nicely. It is a fun challenge because it doesn't have the downforce like what you and I had last night, so some of those corners are a little a little less grippier. I kind of call this place a balancing act, and really, like, when you go through here, where you see Ryan and now you see Sandman coming through. Actually, a better example of this. You come through this little chicane, and then it's like, okay, do I want to sacrifice the entry or the exit? Because the exit's going to give me the big run. Is now we're looking over the shoulder on the clip in that Apex camera. And you see, do you go wide? Do you go narrow? I mean, this place is very, very unique. And you and I were talking about it in the practice yesterday. You were wanting to come out of Spider's Web one way, and I was coming out the other way, but we were both right on top of each other lap time wise. So the way that it's set up lends itself to multiple different grooves. You know, if you're watching from the oval side, you know, and you get those multi-groove racetracks, this is kind of an equivalent of that from the road course side.
Yeah, it really is. I enjoy driving this track a lot. As you're looking right now at the defending series champion here in the Lionheart Retro Series, Adam Blocker, making his season debut. Yeah, Blocker currently third in points. I'm not sure he's had a lot of practice in this car this week, but I was talking to him at the Iowa meetup, and he said, you know, on weeks where he's free, and he does an internship right now with Roush, not Roush Fenway Racing, but like actual Roush Performance in Detroit, Michigan. So it's been a little busy this summer between defending his IndyCar championship and that internship. But when he had free time, he said, I think I'm going to pop into some retro races because it has not been a full roster. You know, we're still 30 plus strong, but not quite capped out at the 40 or 42 that we're used to seeing. So Adam said he might pop in here or there, and here he is tonight, jumping in and currently sitting third behind Sage Karam and Ryan Otis. And last night, if you did not catch the broadcast, you can go check it out here on the iRacing Esports Network for another week. It'll be archived, and it'll move over to Global SimRacing Channel. It's also available on LionheartRacingSeries.com, the website for the Lionheart Racing Series. If you want to go check out the race last night, Adam Blocker and Sage Karam for 17 laps put on as good of a show as you're going to see at a road course, as far as Blocker pressuring Karam and Karam never giving in. And then of all places, where did Sage make a mistake? Pit entry. I don't know if you've had a chance to go back and watch it yet, Yaz, but I was writing the recap this morning, and Adam and Sage got together in the museum corner the lap before Sage came in and nearly took them both out of the race. And you don't see either of those guys make contact with other drivers the way that happened. And it could have been really disastrous for the two of them. And then Sage came into pit. Pit entry here, super tricky, as we all learned last night. And he caught the wall and had to put a front wing on it. And the difference between last night and tonight, Yaz, as you know, can't put a front wing on this car.
Nope. Pretty much you bend that front wing up, and especially at a place that you need that downforce.
Yep. And look, you can see it here. Look at Cody Eldred going through the corners. Great job by our producer, Amjad, there, and the cameras from Dougie. You can see Cody Eldred's left front wing is bent. 4 laps of qualifying.
And you see just what happened right there. You come up that corner, and it just, I mean, like we've said time and time and again, this car does not have the downforce that some of these guys might be used to, especially, you know, guys like Blocker and Sandman and Wardlow, you know, guys that raced the IndyCar last night. It's a whole different mindset that you have to switch over to. And you need every bit of downforce that those little front wings can generate. So you do get that little bit of an impact and that little damage, and it completely undoes everything you're looking for.
30 seconds left, Yaz. What's the biggest story you're looking at in this race?
Well, I was going to say, you know, with Sage being questionable, the road course at the top, you know, kind of that was going to leave it open. But I'm looking at qualifying. You've got 4 guys there, Karam, Otis, Blocker, and Sandman, within about 4/10 of each other, 3/10 really. And that's pretty impressive around here. But the biggest thing is and this is what my philosophy was last night around here: race the racetrack. Some guys are going to get real caught up in trying to chase that guy down in front of them, but race the racetrack, keep the car pointed forward, and you can guarantee yourself a good finish.
Yeah, and the other thing to wonder about is the amount of practice that these guys have gotten this week, as Brian and I can attest to. And Brian had a little more time because he wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. But the Lionheart series, every year, you can see it on Facebook. There's all sorts of pictures. If you go follow the Lionheart guys or any of us, Yaz, myself, Big Joe, Pierre Degley, George Insaldo, anybody that's big time in this series, Dustin Wardlow, Adam Blocker was there, all met up in Iowa for the IndyCar race. It's an annual deal. This year we had 40-plus people show up, which is pretty phenomenal. It was a great time. We braved ridiculous heat on Friday and tornado warnings on Saturday, which was unique for the guy from Bakersfield. But
and then of course, like typical Midwestern people, there was 2 drivers that did not let the rain stop their cornhole game.
oh man, the worst rainstorm I've ever seen in my life. Lightning striking down all around us, and 20 of us outside, and there might have been some drinks consumed ahead of time, but 20 of us standing outside watching a cornhole game. It was pretty phenomenal. Congratulations to Justin Weaver, by the way, for winning that. Not in this race tonight, I don't think. No, he's not running retro this year. But I got to tell you, just a great time at Iowa. But it made, with the IndyCar race last night, for a very short week and not a lot of practice. My first time in the IndyCar was an hour and a half before the race yesterday. I know guys like Dustin Wardlow. He and I got home Tuesday night. Late Tuesday night, so he hasn't had a lot of practice. Sage was obviously there racing in Iowa, so he didn't get a lot of practice. Adam was there. Just a lot of fast guys in this league across the board who were there and didn't get as much practice. So that'll be interesting to watch here tonight, as well as we go to the starting lineup here in this race as we're gridding cars out, and we'll take a look at the butt kicker qualifying results for this event as the cars roll away. And it is going to be Sage Karam grabbing the pole, 113.692 over Ryan Otis. Adam Blocker and George Sandman in row 2. JP Winchittle and Lionel Callisto, Little Train in row 3. Dustin Wardlow, just mentioned, the Candyman. And Richie Hearn, our GSRC color commentator on the IndyCar side, in row 4. David Altman and David Clymer make up row 5.
And Aaron Morgan in the 11th spot, with Dean Mardi Gras Malt his outside. Scott Holmes in the 13th unlucky position, with 14th going to Mark Cohen, the watchman. Paul Jenkins in 15th, 16th to Travis Jagerliner, 17th to James Paulson, series founder and just the greatest guy you could ever meet. In 18th there, George Ansaldo. Chad Dalton, 19th, and rounding out the top 20, Finian Ducana.
Moving on back, row number 11, Chris Lanini and Ryan Corns in Mike Belair, and I believe that's his debut. I hope he's saying his last name right. In row 12 with Taft Baldwin, then Zarek Block and Ron Hacker. Tyson Landis and Frank Bieser in row 14, and there's Ken Hacker and Cody Eldred in row 15. Important to note, Bieser, Hacker, Eldred all did not get a clean lap in qualifying.
And Adam Young pecked there too. He popped into our little chat on Discord and said he's going to be a special kind of terrible. So,
oh boy,
that's his words, not mine. Just no commentator anger there, but this track can just get you cool, but something that will get you in the cool side of things. But look at that iRacing iFlag
right
there. Camera.
Travis Yeager Leonard on board. George Sandman clipping that apex. Ryan Otis is our third on board with minus 273.
That's going to be a good camera angle right there. I promise you. Sandman will be up on it. He was on it last night.
We might want to just ride on board with Sandman here for the first half of the lap with those three in front of him as well. And here's Ryan Otis, mentioned minus 273. The great gloves that they have stepped up and sponsored the Lionheart with this year. Also the sponsor of last night's race. I had a chance to try some minus 273 gloves at George Ansaldo's house last week for the first time. They are awfully nice. 53 laps, 125 miles is the distance. We will have a first-time winner here at Barber in the Lionheart Retro Series tonight. It's Sage Karam and Ryan Otis bringing him to the green flag, and we are underway with the minus 273 Grand Prix of Barber.
Sage getting a massive launch off of that start, catching Ryan Otis sleeping. Otis losing another spot, and now we're setting up to see Blocker versus Karam round 2 here tonight in the Lotus, or in the Retro Series.
Round 1 was fun to watch last night. Look at this already. Richie Hearn making a move on a little train. Dustin Wardlow up 2 spots and almost inside a Sandman as Richie Hearn tries to follow him through, and they get out of Charlotte's Web clean for now. We did have an incident there last night on lap number 1. Down into the museum corner for the first time, and here is a corner that is so much fun in the IndyCar, but is awfully difficult in the retro car, because that is where you will destroy your front wing if you are not careful. And it looks like so far we've had a pretty clean opening lap here of this race. Has
looking back through the back half of the field, and everybody's getting through just fine. Oh, big incident, actually. As soon as I say that, big incident right off of that corner. Travis Jagerliner is involved, and I saw a car. I thought I saw a car upside down against the catch rail. Oh, it's Paulson. Ooh, you know, I have to go on board for this because I have a suspicion of what happened.
Paulson and Jagerlener are teammates, and Travis immediately pulled over and parked it. And that's tough for Travis Jagerlener, who is known as a road course ace in these cars. Had a podium in our last road course on board the iRacing iFlag entry here. That's Paulson just in front of him. And you're going to follow them through, and there went Paulson, and there went Jagerlener with him. Took a lot of damage on that race car.
It's weird. It's like Paulson went to go off the corner, and the car just didn't. Yeah, I thought maybe, you know, because with the Lotus 79, you can use an H pattern shifter. I thought maybe he missed a shift. What's going on? Oh, Richie spun around off of Charlotte's Web. And that's a very tricky corner as well. Very easy to get crossed up and have so much wheel steered into it. And then when you go to put the power down, it's just not ready, or you get a little bit of help.
Yeah, or you do get a little bit of help. And I said Travis Jagerlener pulled off. He disappeared on my sim and just came back. So Travis is still running with some front wing damage. As we take a look now at Adam Blocker, who's settled in behind Sage Karam, with Ryan Otis comfortably in third. And these three, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, have already yarded the field. George Sandman back there behind Otis, and then you see the gap back to Winchittle and Clymer, and then it is a disastrous gap all the way back. In fact, Dustin Wardlow has had an off, and I'm not seeing that yet, but Dustin Wardlow is, am I seeing that correctly? No, Dustin Wardlow's in sixth.
Right around in sixth.
I didn't see him, and then I looked over at my timing, and Dustin Wardlow was in 28th, so I apologize on that one. I'm not sure how that happened, but I do see Wardlow now behind JP. So it looks like the top 10 have all had a pretty good start here. Little Train, Lionel had kind of a rough start. He's back to 9th. Dean Mall up to 10th right now. Wardlow, the biggest climber early on, but now he's just picked up one spot since the start of this race. Looks like JP might have even got back around him. Scott Holmes up 5 spots to 8th. Remember, Scott Holmes and Ryan Otis had a little bit of an incident at the end of our last event that caused the final caution at New Hampshire. Bit controversial there. The new guy, Mike Belier, all the way up to 17th already from 23rd, our biggest mover here through the first 3 laps. He has gained 6 spots. So Adam Young's up to 21st. Look at that. You said he was going to be terrified, and here's Adam Young just cruising along. Up 10 spots to 21st.
Just like what I was saying from last night. Just keep swimming.
27th, boy, is my timing and scoring must be all off.
I mean, the 7 does kind of look like a 1.
Nope. I'll take a picture of it. It says plus 10 on mine. But again, it also just had Dustin Wardlow down in like second to last. So
I got a program for you to really try out there.
Do you? It's called SimRacing app.
Been using it for a couple years.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah, I know. I hear your voice every time I pit. You are watching Wardlow right now, the Candyman, and our most recent winner, trying to run down Winchittle with David Clymer right behind him. Those 3 cars are pretty evenly matched, it appears. Wardlow, of note, last night was one of just, I think, 3 drivers who got through the race with 0 incident points, therefore picking up a bonus point. Really a strong run for Wardlow, who came home in the 6th position in last night's race. Ironically, where he also runs right now.
Yeah, that works out sometimes. Guara's candy machine right there.
Gotta pick up my chews. I wonder if his daughter Megan's watching. If she is, hello to her.
Little Train has a little bit of off coming up before the pit road entrance. I just feel like the car just kind of washed out a little bit. Maybe it was a little bit of front wing damage from something, but he went into the corner and the car just kind of went straight, like a defiant teenager.
He does have some front wing damage now, and he did have it even before that. In fact, now he's got it on both sides, so maybe he just wanted it to be matching.
Well, I mean, and contrary to what the popular belief would be, is if you break both sides, you don't fix the problem.
He's going to test that theory, I think.
He's going to, but Mark, watch out.
Little Train back to 13th right now. Mark Cohn up there in 12th. The Watchman trying to have a solid night here on the road as you look off the back wing of David Altman's car. Mark Cohn changed up the paint scheme. Had a little bit of a sponsorship change there, and I know he told me he's actively looking, I believe, for a full-time primary sponsor again. So
think you and I helped him a little bit on some of that too.
Little bit. You more than me. I was too busy having heat stroke in Iowa. Here's a pass for the 6th position. David Clymer around Dustin Wardlow just as we come off that battle.
Yeah.
And here it is.
Clymer, and this is this part of that the track that I was talking about earlier, where you kind of come up this hill, you climb the hill, if you will. There's a spot. He even runs wide, but Wardlow ran wider. So that was kind of a unique one.
That's the corner I had troubles in last night as well. That's kind of calamity corner.
That's where I got my 1X last night.
Is it where
I drifted just a little too far off.
You should protest it and see if they'll give you that bonus point back.
Well, I thought about calling for an admin.
Yeah. A little too much of that going on. Back to the battle on the racetrack here. Clymer ahead of Wardlow. See if Dustin can get back around David. Saw the lap time disparity last time around with Wardlow getting wide. Right now, the quickest lap in this race does belong to your leader, Sage Karam, at a 1:13.53, and he has actually opened up the gap on Adam Blocker to about 2 seconds. Ryan Otis another second back of him. And George Sandman is hanging tight, just 5 seconds off the lead right now. So really, a mistake by any one of these guys could really shuffle up the current podium runners as we work lap number 7 of 53. And here you're on board with Sandman, clipping that apex on board for the HPP simulation driver.
And, you kind of run around this place, especially if you don't have the pace of the leader and you think, you got to finish all the laps because, all these guys aren't going to wreck. Sandman, a driver who rarely makes a mistake, made a mistake last night. Sage Karam made a mistake last night.
Multiple mistakes.
Multiple drivers. Yeah, so you really just have to keep your head down. And if you do make a mistake, just keep at it. Now, unless you junk the whole car, then don't keep at it. But you just have to kind of keep everything pointing forward. Like I'm watching Wardlow trying to make a run back at Clymer again. And to me, this is probably the best battle on track off the top of my head that I can see right now from timing and scoring. So now they're coming through that little sector. It's just fun in the IndyCar. In this car, it's not fun.
That is so true. Oh, man. Yeah, it feels really good in the IndyCar. And in this car, you're like one little blip of the throttle away from ending your night.
Yeah, and then you get that nice little rotation there, then try to cut it back. Even here, I wasn't able to get real comfortable with the throttle there last night. I know it's even worse in this car. Because you have to gas it coming off the corner before, then lift to let the nose set, and then punch it again. But then if you punch it if you drive it wrong, you're going to end up in the grass and end up in the wall.
If you're wondering just how quick these cars even are versus how real life works, you see the lap comparison there between Clymer and Wardlow. The real life lap record at this track is Sebastian Bourdais back in 2016. Ran a 106.6. So last night, the Lionheart IndyCar Series was actually outrunning Bourdais' track record by a full second. The guys up front.
But the other Blocker was outrunning.
And Karam, yes.
The rest of us were below that.
That is correct, yes. The other we mentioned off the top, this track originally built specifically for motorcycle racing. Matt Mladen, who is, of course, if you know anything about superbike-style racing, the Aussie is one of the best to ever grace two wheels. Has the track record way back in 2008 on a Suzuki GSXR 1000 at a 123.6. So even these old ground effects retro cars with the naturally aspirated motors are running around here about 11 seconds quicker, 10 seconds quicker than the motorcycles did, which really says something to the amount of speed they're carrying. And the biggest reason I bring that up is because they built a racetrack designed for vehicles that ran 1:23, and now we've got vehicles that are twice the size and weigh 4 times as much that are going even quicker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part, is doing some research for this, for the show tonight, and figuring out that, Barber derives its name from the gentleman that built the track. Because it's in Alabama, so you think, we'll call it one of several different things that are close to Alabama. Nope, it is George Barber was the gentleman that built that track. And Jason's absolutely right. It started as a museum over on the far side of the museum corner there, and then it just kind of built upon it. to get what we got today.
Good little battle here for 17th. The newcomer, Mike Belair, and that's Chris Lanini that you're looking at. Teammate of Brian and I is over on the IndyCar side, and coming off a 10th place finish last night. He called that his proudest race in his Lionheart history. And this is a driver who has quite a few finishes in the top 10, and has led some laps in races, and had a sneakily phenomenal IndyCar season 1 year ago, and has had some bad luck bite him this year. But currently running in 18th. And last night, did he have a top 10 car? Definitely not. But what did he do? The exact thing Brian has said all night, which is just don't make a mistake and see what happens.
I felt bad because, Chris is on. He's on our team over there in the IndyCar side, and we got in Carol's line. He said P10, and I went, wait, what? He just stealthily got up there, and it was brilliant because I don't think he said 2 words the whole race.
Not even close. No, did not hear him at all.
Whereas you and I were talking a lot, and then other people were coming into our channel talking a lot, saying that we weren't fast enough or something. I don't know.
There are not many great battles on the track, which is why we're watching this battle for 17th. And you can see behind Lanini, George Anzaldo, the series founder, and also Taft Baldwin, one of those riding shotgun motorsports drivers. It's also kind of creeped up into the picture. So the 4 of them are kind of within striking distance here. I've kept an eye on the battle for P6, which we watched for a while, and Dustin Wardlow has not been able to close back in on David Clymer. In fact, Clymer was a little bit quicker as we check back in on that right now and head up through turns 1 and 2 and work their way down towards Charlotte's Web, which is a spot that I learned in the IndyCar side of things. Wardlow had quite a bit of speed compared to a lot of guys. He also has those HPP pedals and an AccuForce wheel. So shout out to companies that have in the past and currently do support the Lionheart series, because Dustin is sitting right there as living proof as how good their equipment can be. Boy, you see Clymer, as I say, that kind of locked up the brakes a little. So we check in on 8th place, and there's Scott Holmes and Mardi Gras, Dean Mull, and even Aaron Morgan has jumped up there. Aaron Morgan coming off of a phenomenal run at New Hampshire, he has, where I think we said Aaron Morgan's name once all night until 5 laps to go, and all of a sudden he was inside of Big Joe in a battle for the podium and came home in 4th place.
Yeah, it's just, sometimes just how these races go. You think you can pay attention to everybody, and then someone comes up and sneaks a run at you. I will say this, the jump back to that battle for 17th, Chris Lanini, he did the over-under on Belair. And he's going to go around the outside, which is that move would require significant downforce aided by your massive steel attack. He wisely backed out of that, but then he tried the crisscross and coming back. He's just back all over it, but then all of this moving around, that's allowed George to make a run back at it. So this is phenomenal racing right now, but I think Otis is making a charge back up front.
Ryan Otis has started to close in on Adam Blocker up near the front of this. You see right there, he's just been chipping away. The last 2 laps specifically, he's really chipped away. And it almost looks like Adam has slowed more than maybe Otis has found something. Here's something, I was just going to bring this up, and I wonder if this might be something Adam's maybe considering a work. We were originally told that this was going to be a one-stop race, but George Anzaldo today was putting the media guide together for us and sent me a message. He said, I think fuel's going to be a problem in this race. I said, why is that? He said, I'm getting 24 to 25 laps. Well, the problem with that is 24 to 25 laps means this is a 2-stop race. But with the pace lap, if you can get to 26, then you could probably make it a one-stopper. So do we have a little bit of a Monza situation on our hands here, you wonder?
Well, you could, and if that's going to play into anybody's strengths, it is Adam Blocker, who, I call him Scott Dixon of the IndyCar series, the Lionheart IndyCar series, because he could just make fuel mileage somehow, as we're watching the 05 machine there, Taft Baldwin, just having a rough go of it there.
And he was right behind Anzaldo, along with Lanini and Belair. He was right there in that battle, the 4th car in line, and he looked like he had maybe also been the benefactor of the slow up and had caught Anzaldo and then got a little happy on the throttle and looped it. So now Taft all the way back to 24th. And you see Ron Hacker and Tyson Landis both right behind Baldwin there. And I got to take a second while we can here on lap 14 of 53, and this is the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker, the -273 Grand Prix of Barber. And I got to take a second and say thank you to Ron and his wife Cindy, Ron's brother Ken, who races in this series, and of course also Brandon Limkeman, who races over on the IndyCar side of things and sponsors the league, and his wife Jamie, because the 5 of them are largely responsible for our meetup in Iowa, especially when it comes to reserving the tailgating spots and putting the tents together and making sure everybody's having a good time. And they are about the best darn tailgating host I've ever seen in my life. And they put a lot of work in and spend a lot of their own money on that. That is not something that is a requirement, but they do it because they love the league and the people in it, and the people in the league love them too. So I want to take a second while we had a moment here publicly to thank Ron and Brandon and the Hackers and the Limkeman family for everything that they did last weekend in taking care of the, again, 40-plus guests that swung by the Lionheart Series meetup in Iowa, including the leader of this race, Sage Karam, who was busy in a real-life IndyCar and still found some time to swing by and hang out.
And also, Scott Rupp, Midwest Simulations, he did.
Oh, gosh, absolutely.
He does a lot, too, every single year. Last year, he brought
does.
the sim out, and that was fun. This year, I think he was in charge of food and
he
the
brought
grill.
the barbecue out.
Yeah, so I'm big shout out to Scott.
Yeah, you talk about coming in clutch. That's my fault. iRacing iFlags, that is Scott's product. And you are absolutely right, Yaz. How did I forget about the food?
How did I not know that was his product?
Wow, really?
I never put 2 and 2 together. I got a set of spotlights right in front of me.
The spotlights are Rupp's, yep.
Huh.
Man, look at that.
No, wait. I knew the spotlights were up. Where's the iRacing iFlag? That's.
Oh, my bad. I just confused them.
Thank you. Okay.
This is your fault. Yes, the spotlights are Rupp's, not the iFlag.
You can play. All right. No, you're not blaming me 2 times in a row, 2 nights in a row. That's not happening.
It's Barber. I gotta blame you for something.
You can, but whether or not I acknowledge it is a whole separate matter.
Touche.
Mark
Cohn right there behind David Altman. Yep.
Let's get back to the actual racing, what people tune in for, and not just to listen to us banter.
Hey, that only lasted 2 laps. It's much better than New Hampshire.
Admin.
This is Little Train we're on board with, and Little Train's fabricator is going to have a lot of work to do after this race to that front wing. That thing has all sorts of tweaks. He's still got some speed, though, trying to run down Mark Cohn, work his way back towards the top 10. We figure we're just past halfway of this event in the opening fuel run of this event, as we're on lap 16. Let's run you through the top 10 here. It is Sage Karam, and he's led every lap of this race from the pole. Up on Adam Blocker, Ryan Otis, George Sandman, and then there's like what feels like an eternity from Sandman back to JP Winchittle.
15 seconds, I'll do it.
And there's also an eternity from Winchittle back to David Clymer. So, boy, JP right now, you talk about being on an island. JP's sitting here going, when do we start lapping cars? I want to see somebody again. David Clymer in 6th, and David Clymer is not on an island. He's got Wardlow and then Scott Holmes and Marty Gras-Mall behind them. Actually, it's a big old chunk from Clymer all the way down to Paul Jenkins in 14th, 6th to 14th, that are within 9 seconds of each other. So that's where the action is on the track right now.
It's unfortunate because JP, they might have to throw him another checkered flag at the end of this because he's so by himself.
He's not going to know the race.
Yeah, no, he's not going to know the race is over. It'd be like that song from Cake. He's going the distance, but he's all alone, that sort of thing. All right, moving on.
Why are these guys pulled over on the side of the track? It's weird.
Why is everybody going home? Admin.
Mardi Gras right now. That's who you're looking at. That's a great story. I know Yaz tells it often, but you want to tell it again, Yaz, in case we got first-time viewers here trying to figure out why Dean Mall's car looks like somebody took a bunch of crayons and scribbled?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned exactly that same way. We called it Mardi Gras at the it was the very first race of the season, the All-Star race at the Roval. It was the transfer race. And I said, man, it looks like Mardi Gras, looks like a Mardi Gras paint scheme. And then we ended up talking to him, and what he does is he prints out the template for the Lotus, or for whatever car he's racing on, and he hands it to his daughter. and she takes the crayons and scribbles it and does all these different designs and gives it back to him, and he scans it into iRacing or scans it onto the template and then draws his logos on top of it. So it's a really unique story, and I love the chance to tell it because, you know, it's obviously a great father-daughter story, but just, you know, kind of that fun little things that sim racing allows people to do with their families, with their loved ones. You know, we talk about the Lionheart meetup. I mean, think about it. What other universe are 40 strangers that met on the internet going to go meet in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa and talk about?
It's a good point. On board here with Finian. Finian DeCoon making a pass for 15th to get around Chad Dalton, the rookie, and then immediately yanked him coming out of that corner.
Yeah, we got him a little twisted up there.
Finian's a driver who has a ton of road course experience. I kind of figured he would be a little further up on the road course in this series. Right now running around in the 15th spot.
It's just, you know, it's just this track. If you get caught behind somebody, sometimes it messes you up. If you didn't get the time to really learn the ebbs and the flows, it'll also mess you up. But at the same time, we're on lap 19. Oh, no!
Adam Blocker and a lap car got together.
That's not good.
Riding on board with Adam. Cody Eldred. And that's just a tough spot. Boy, now the question is, what did that do to Adam's car?
We get a good look at it here. Oh. I mean, the wings are intact, and as they should be. He may have gotten away with one.
Wow. And unless it knocked the toe out, which I think we know pretty quick here.
I mean, I've raced cars before that I feel like I had to knock against the wall to get them to drive better. So that could have been what happened there.
That's true. I want a stock car race in the league you and I used to race in at Irwindale Speedway in the B car, and first I had to knock the wall down 5 times. So. Pass for the 8th position as some action starting to pick up here on the track on lap number 20. This is Mardi Gras, Dean Mall.
Oh, in the grass there. Morgan. It's tripping me up because I'm seeing Aaron Morgan, and I've been playing so much Red Dead Redemption 2. And I said, I saw Arthur Morgan. I swear to God I saw that. But so that's just a me thing that I'm dealing with tonight.
Is Arthur Morgan a character in Red Dead?
He's the main character.
Oh, that's good to know. When I start playing that, then maybe I'll make the same mistake.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, and that's kind of what we got going on here at Barber. I haven't taken my eyes off this battle for 17th for about the last 5 or 7 laps or so.
17th.
It is just, it's Chris Lanini and Mike Belair, and Lanini is trying every damn thing he can think of. It's just not
George Anzaldo's there. By the way, to make matters worse, here's Richie, who qualified in the top 10 and spun on lap 2, and then sat there and let the entire field go by. And Richie has now caught back up to this and is sitting there knocking on the door like, Bueller, coming through, boys. Everybody move.
Chris gets a great run off of that corner, gets right up using the draft, and then he gets up here to these kind of left-right combo, and he can't really go anywhere. He tries this over-under, like he tries to cross him up. He even tried sending it up the inside one of those times through this set of corners. It just didn't quite work.
Did he lick the stamp first? That's the question.
Not quite. He had the envelope and he was getting ready to send it. Problem is when you have your hand in the mailbox drawer and the drawer shuts on you, you have 2 choices. You can either pull the hand out or get bit. And he decided on lap 10, just pull my hand out and I'm gonna try again.
Right. We're closing in, folks, on what we're expecting to be the opening of the pit windows. Richie Hearn makes a move on George Anzaldo. into Charlotte's Web. You saw it right behind Lanini there.
And that's
So Richie Hearn moves back up into 19th position with that pass of Anzaldo. And now you got to imagine we'll set his sights on Lanini and Belair. And I almost wonder, it might behoove Lanini to maybe back off just a tad here. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but hear me out, yes.
Okay.
Back off just a little bit and let Richie by. And when Richie gets around Belair, try to follow him through.
Oh, yeah. Not a terrible idea. Let someone else do the work and make the hole, and you just gotta follow through. But then here's the other thing: is Chris Lanini was in the race last night, and we've talked about.
A penalty
that's
to
a game
Adam
changer.
Blocker for avoidable contact. I'm curious, is that on Cody for forcing the issue, trying to go around Cody Eldred? Meanwhile, we got cars on pit road. Ron Hacker is in for the first time. I got to check in on that one, Yaz. Give me a
Unless
sec.
there's something that we missed. That's all I can think of. Anyways. So that battle,
I'm checking in
is that
with
battle
race control
subsides.
tonight. It's David Cordy, Pierre Degley, and
Jake?
Dan Guerin.
Oh, damn.
And Pierre Degley does confirm it's for the contact with Cody Eldred, as Blocker was going to lap him, and it looks like Pierre's sending me some more info right now. So I'll relay that when I hear it. And boy, that is a huge game changer. And Pierre said Cody was up against the grass as far as he could go, and Adam just swung out wide into him. So there it is.
It wasn't.
Boy, that changes everything up front.
All right.
Adam Blocker has not served that yet, and they just called it again. I almost wonder, this is going to sound
Does he
dumb,
not
but I
know
almost
his
wonder if
number?
Adam realizes his number. Yeah, because he runs 1 in the IndyCar. Honestly, he runs number 1 in the IndyCar. He might be sitting there thinking to himself, like, what? Is that me?
Who's that 73 guy?
They both go
Ryan
around
Otis
Eric
on pit
Block.
road with the bent up front wing as well. That's just shy of. I mean, that's gonna be
That's
a
way
two-stop
shy.
race.
No, that's way shy. There's not a chance. Boy, that may be the one saving grace for Blocker. If he's the only guy who can make this a one-stop race, then suddenly the drive-through doesn't hurt him.
Yeah, but I just.
And the drive-through might actually help him save the fuel to make it. Think about that, because you're going to
It
drive
could
through
be.
pit lane off the throttle. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it could be interesting to see. I mean, but as I was saying, if that fuel strategy plays into any driver hands better,
All day.
it is Adam Blocker. I've studied him in practices. I have no idea how he makes the lap times
Here
and
he
the
is.
fuel. Is he on pit
Blocker
road?
on pit road.
Yeah.
Now let's see. Does he take service or does he drive through? Whoa! Oh, Adam, attaboy. Way to get that thing woed up.
I mean, that's a way to do that.
It was on the
It
brake
worked.
pedal. All right, here we go. Will he pull in? Will he keep rolling?
He's all the way up
He's
there,
serving the penalty.
passing through.
So there it is. Adam Blocker serves to pass through, and let's see now where he cycles back out as he comes onto the track, and he does it just in front of. That's Travis Jagerlander, who's a lap down.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think he only lost one spot.
Yeah, I was saying, he's nowhere close to anybody. He's George Sandman is in front of him. I'm trying to figure out how far back Ryan Otis is. Boy, Ryan Otis is way behind Adam.
Otis pitted too. The
Right, no,
previous
but that's
lap.
what I was trying to do the math. Like, Ryan is much further back than your pit service time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, Otis. Well,
It's 12 seconds. There's no way it takes 12 seconds to get fuel.
I got him at 7 on my screen.
Blocker to Otis, I'm showing 15 right now. Boy, you and I are just all over the place.
I got a thing for you, man.
I mean, I've got Otis.
Hitman on pit road.
George Sandman. There we go.
And that's not going to be enough to make. I mean, you got to make 2.
Well, there's no way. 3
You
extra
got to make
laps.
2
at
more.
this
Yeah,
point.
you got to make 2 more to at least have the thought.
Right.
And right
But
now, and Sage is on pit road as well. We missed that.
so nobody is going to make this on one stop the way this is going.
Unless someone is sneaking it. Who's still on track? Blocker,
Adam Blocker.
technically. I'm going to call him on track because, just kind of the
Well, he hasn't taken fuel.
Yeah.
I mean that look, the drive-through didn't save him a whole lap.
I'd be surprised sometimes. You roll down pit road, maybe threw it in 5th gear. Used as absolute little fuel as possible.
So far, look, I show JP has not pit yet. Dean Mall, Aaron Morgan. We got a lot of cars actually mid-pack that have not pit. It looks like. So
Yeah, but they're so far behind that it's kind of a tricky number.
Right.
I mean, we also know that you can't take service on the drive-through penalty as well.
Here
So that
comes
also
a lot
is
of
part of
Mike
it.
Belair and George Anzaldo. And yeah, but Adam's run another lap since then. And here he comes. So Adam's in now. Boy, and I tell you what, he's on pit road on the lap.
Oh, no. Well, he
That
did
changes
kind of bounce
things,
it off
too.
the fence.
That changes things too. How bad did he bounce it off the fence?
I mean, if it was just a kiss, then it's
Oh,
all
he
right.
got it on the grab. Boy, and I tell you what, he actually. Oh, boy, I don't know. That was pretty heavy.
I mean, that's,
That's considerable.
They could make an SVU episode out of that one.
He did take tires as well, which is interesting. So now the question is, how damaged is Adam's race car?
Yeah.
On top of, can he make it the distance? Sage Karam has reassumed the lead over Otis. Sandman and Blocker is 14 seconds back, if I'm seeing that correctly. Look, I'm just going to wait until, Brian corrects me, then tells me that I'm wrong. I don't know. My relative looks right for Sage to Otis.
Let's take a look here, because right now my screen still has Blocker leading, so I got to let everything kind of cycle back around.
So you got something for me, but it's a lap behind. Paul Jenkins on pit road. Finian DeCunha on pit road. Boy, so there's, you know what, Brian? There's a few drivers here.
Mall and Morgan. They have not
drivers
pitted yet.
who have a chance.
But you wonder if the pace, if they're going to get outrun.
Well, yeah. So I don't
pace.
think Morgan and Mall aren't going to win, and here comes Mall in right now.
They are right now.
But what they might do is steal 4th and 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Behind them, boy. I tell you what, if you can steal 4th and 5th when you're running around in 11th and 12th, that's a good night too.
It's a big point.
Remember Travis Jagerlener at Imola, right?
Mm-hmm.
Travis ran around at 9th or 10th all night, finished 3rd.
And of course, Mall and Morgan are pitted right in front of each other.
Next to each other. I was just thinking that. On board with Travis Jagerlener, speaking of
away.
high flag car. Both Mall and Morgan with clean stops. Looked like they both got out of their stalls okay. I've not heard of any penalties on pit road. I was kind of surprised last night there was no penalties for the pit boxes. And the pit boxes here, I was concerned. And, it is something the admin team tracks with drivers on average of, how much they drive through stalls. And it's something that they can look at. If somebody maybe drops a couple wheels in the forced stall and they go and look, does that person test it every time, or was that just a one-off type of deal? And I've been told that on average, I'm like a 1.5 stall guy when you get 3. And I was freaking out last night that I was going to drive through too many stalls. Whoa, somebody off right in front of Morgan and Mall.
Cody Eldred.
Boy, Cody Eldred is very off the pace, though. I got to tell you that. At 126 on his last lap. By contrast, Finian ran a 132, or Lionel ran a 132, and it was his pit lap. So Lionel's only 6 seconds behind Cody while pitting. Speaking of Lionel, up to 10th after some issues early on. So that front wing still a little damaged.
Catching up with a couple things that were brought to my attention. Nothing of a major concern.
That's what I was just going to ask about that. Battle for
that's-
11th.
That's Altman just poking his nose out there. I mean, got that bright yellow car. Sometimes that move, it's a very low success rate. I'll be honest about it. But when it works, you want to do it every single time, because what the idea is that you poke the car out just enough that they can see it, and they might take their eyes.
Altman runs wide.
And then there's that.
Altman runs wide, and then Holmes comes on and bounces off of Jenkins. Yowzers.
That's Charlotte's Web.
Boy, there might be 2 avoidable contacts. Holmes might have been the victim and the aggressor.
I bet you that one doesn't cancel out either.
No, I don't think so. I do not think so.
Now, Altman just got in there and just got too much of the brake pedal. Then as he goes back on, sheesh, just goes from bad to worse there.
Holmes is off again, and he almost spun. Boy. Well, I've been there. Meanwhile, David Altman is just all over Mark Cohn all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the driver's seat there, I bet you. Wonder if Mark's going. Wonder if they're going to make a call on that one.
Well, there's just some great battles happening right now, thanks to all this action. And it starts with Mark Cohn in 11th, and then it's Cohn, Altman, Holmes, Jenkins, DeCunha, and Dalton are all lined up. And here's Wardlow trying to hold off Marty Groff for 7th, and David Kleimer is just up ahead of that. And by the way, remember JP Winchell, who just had like days and days of space around him? He must have made a mistake at some point, because now he's only got 2 seconds on David Kleimer.
Well, it's always the worst when you have all that time to yourself, and then something happens. You go, man, I wish I had that time again.
Right? Yeah, I'd like to have those 17 seconds back, huh?
It's like last night. I had 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds over the car.
David Altman's off, and that one looked like it might have been catastrophic.
That was a big one.
In fact, Altman has towed. Too much throttle, too much wall.
Oh, yeah, that's that tricky corner, which I'm really surprised that corner hasn't caught more people out tonight.
That is going to end David Altman's night. David Altman.
Come up over that crest, and if you got too much throttle in it versus steering input, that will happen every single time.
David Altman, one of the drivers who made the trek to Iowa, along with his girlfriend Jess. It was great hanging out with. Thank David Altman for his service to our country, actively serving in the United States military, but out of this race now on lap 30. Told that would have been an avoidable contact on David Altman had he not just wrecked. So he was due to come in, but would not have mattered. Watching Sage Karam, who has been the dominant car in this race. But the question remains, what happens to Adam Blocker? Because Ryan Otis's front wing has seen
nice
better days, hasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, that's nice and twisted up there.
He's going to have a big bill from the fabricator.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be affecting the handling on that race car. Like there are little kinks to that wing that don't really kill you, and then there's that.
I was gonna say, and then there's that. It is all.
I mean, that looks like Uba stuck the stop sign out going down the highway.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably doing the same thing down that front stretch, or that stretch right there before Charlotte's Web.
I'll tell you what, last lap, just 0.3 off of Karam. Adam Blocker is the fastest car on the track right now, by the way, but he is 8 seconds back of George Sandman and Sandman is actually running comparable times to Karam and Otis and Blocker as well. They're all hanging out in the 1:14.3 to 1:14.7 range. In fact, JP Chippy Winchell is also in the 1:14.7s all of a sudden and has kind of started to open up that gap over David Clymer a little bit.
Blocker also has a little bit of wing damage on the front.
I remember
The,
Blocker
driver's
made
side
love
left.
to the wall coming into the pit.
That's right. No. That was the other side. This is the
Oh,
other
that was
side
the
of
other
the car.
side. You're right. That's a good point. Battle for 6th. Dustin Wardlow got David Clymer. The Candyman back up to P6, and boy, had he been working on that for like 20 laps.
I was going to say, yeah, that's every bit of about 20 laps.
I'm trying to look and see where that happened at.
Yeah, it just must have.
I think it happened into the hairpin, into Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
Take a look, and boy, that was a very late move by Wardlow, but he made it work, and that tells me, I wonder if Clymer had just been taking that corner wide, every lap, and Dustin finally caught on and said, I wonder what happens when I stick my nose in here. And that's what happens is you
get element of surprise.
Right, also for
that
sure.
was, Charlotte's Web, that was probably my favorite corner last night in the IndyCar.
It's one of my favorite books growing up. Boy, and I tell you what, Wardlow has just yarded Clymer, who is now under massive attack from Dean Mull and Aaron Morgan. David Clymer, I bet if we talked to him after this race, he'd tell you he spent more time looking at his rearview mirror than he did out the front of that race car.
Very possibly, yeah.
David Altman has retired from this race officially, by the way. There are, there's about 4 cars actually out of this race. Let me double check here. Maybe 5.
Good
James
battle.
Paul, Ken Hacker, Adam Young. Sorry, I was just going to run through them real quick. Paulson, Ken Hacker, Adam Young are all out of this race. It looks like Ron Hacker has also retired. So David Altman will be the 5th car out of this event of the 31 that started.
Good little battle back here for the 12th position. Scott Holmes has it. Paul Jenkins, Finian Ducana, Chad Dalton. They're all kind of breathing down that right in the right off of that rear wing of the 67 machine. It's kind of hard to tell because sometimes Scott coming off of the corner might gap it a little bit, but then the entry Jenkins might get a little bit back. I mean, it's kind of, they're all accordion back here.
It's really going to play a factor into this battle as well, yes.
What's that?
They got Cody Eldred in front of them, who is a little off the pace. And then if you look out the backside of Chad Dalton's car,
ooh, yep.
They're about 2 laps from having company from the race leader, and you got to believe that race leader, Sage Karam, is smart enough to have looked at Adam Blocker's pit stop and realized when he took fuel and said, you know what, Adam might be close, and I need to keep the gap going, Because, I mean, Adam could be to the point where right now the gap is 18 seconds. Pit road delta is 32 in the lane, but you figure it's closer to 36, 37 with the entry. I mean, Adam might be to the point where he runs out of fuel and coasts to the line with an 18-second lead, Yeah. I mean, he's got that type of gap to play with, especially if he can eat into it if Karam catches lap traffic here. So this will be interesting to watch as you continue to look back. Scott Holmes, Paul Jenkins, Ducana, Chad Dalton. Here's the blimp view. Boy, Amjed's on it tonight. Such a scenic track, too.
Yeah, nestled in the hills of Alabama.
Which, I'll be honest, until I saw a race at Barber, I didn't know Alabama had hills.
I didn't know either,
Just throwing that out there. Karam got around Eldred rather easily, but he is officially there at the back of this battle. There's no way to hide that. Chad Dalton looks out the back of that race car, and your race leader, Sage Karam, by the time they hit Charlotte's Web right here, Sage is going to close in, I think, right up on Dalton when they come out of this corner. And we're going to get to the point where Sage is going to be using that admin call, I think, trying to get out of his way.
Decisions are going to have to be made.
Indeed. Let's see how well everybody plays with the leader. We're going to ride on board with Sage Karam here and follow this group around, as now not only do we have a great battle shaping up for 12th through 15th, but we got a leader in a whole lot of hurry as well.
Well, you got an 8-second lead. I mean, really, Sage has no incentive to push here.
Other than that, a blocker. You know, that's got to be the thing in the back of your head.
Yeah, but
Ryan Otis, by the way, has just this lap alone has cut into that lead almost a full second.
Yeah, well, more so where I was going with that thought process is Sage doesn't have to try and reach out and make stupid decisions to try to at least, desperation stab the brake pedal and try to get around guys. I think he's going to get a good run here on Dalton here into Charlotte's Web. So that's one down.
Boy, Dalton did not give that up easy.
Didn't make it easy on the IndyCar Series driver.
Next car up in that line is Finian DeCania.
And that lays over.
Finian laid over for sure. Well done. Now Sage opens up a little bit of a gap to Paul Jenkins and Scott Holmes. Boy, Dalton and Finian both almost just wrecked coming over the crest there.
That could be interesting.
They were wheels wide in the grass. That could have been fun. Checking in on the lead this time around. Sage Karam's last lap actually didn't suffer too much. A 1:14.8. Ryan Otis clicks off another half a second on Karam that time. In fact, Ryan Otis that time around, Yaz, goes 1:14.2, and George Sandman goes 1:14.0.
Ooh. That's flying.
Fast time in this race belongs to Sage. It's a 1:13.43. Ryan Otis has also been in the 1:13.4s. I assure you that was right down there near the end of the fuel run. Karam makes quick work of Jenkins, and now it's just Scott Holmes. The Sage is going to catch Holmes at an awkward time, though.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to cost him
That's
some
not
time.
the fun part of the track.
No. Oh, and Holmes makes all sorts of mistakes. And look at Sage slicing it under.
That's one way to get him.
Boy, excuse me coming through. I am not playing games, says Sage Karam. And he clears the lap traffic, and now it's Mark Cohn, who's still about 6 seconds ahead of this. Sage somehow runs a 1:14.6 while slicing and dicing through all of those cars, and Ryan Otis goes a 1:14.4. George Sandman goes a 1:14.1, and all of a sudden, now the thing to keep an eye on is Ryan Otis to George Sandman as they catch this lap traffic, and we're going to have ourselves a battle for second place shaping up here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That could definitely change the game here.
Well, and the other question becomes, if you know you're going to have to short pit, or pit, I should say, short at the end of the race, do you consider short pitting if you're one of these two when you catch this lap traffic?
Yeah.
In other words, if Otis struggles and Sandman reels him in, does Sandman say, I want to try to beat you in 4 lap cars? Or does he pit and try to get some open space to click off laps while Ryan Otis battles?
I mean, with the amount of fuel that they might need, I can't imagine you're going to be on long. I mean, the undercut's probably not a terrible strategy there, especially if you get caught up behind them. You know, let's say that, those 4 cars in front of Otis are just fast enough in the right spots, and then now you're catched up to the back. And yeah, that undercut's a very viable strategy play if you need to make it.
And isn't it funny that all 4 of these cars got kind of spread out when Sage was lapping them? And now to see if Amjad can get us an aerial view of these 4 in front of Ryan Otis, because now they all look like they're being towed around the lake on knee boards or something. Just throw a string out the back and everybody hold on, I'll take you with me. This is impressive too, Yaz. I mean, anybody who's driven this course knows. But if you haven't, there are so many blind corners on this track. This is not a track where it's fun to follow somebody. There are those tracks where it's really fun to chase somebody. Like Road America comes to mind. I love chasing somebody at Road America. This track, there's like 3 corners where if you're 0.3 or 0.4 of a second behind somebody, you're basically hoping that where they turned in is the right spot. Because if they miss, everybody's going with them. And these guys have done a great job now for about 15 laps of racing nose to tail 4 and 5 cars deep, and nobody has made that mistake. Otis with
they're
the
both
undercut.
doing it.
Oh, Sandman followed him. Boy, I think Sandman saw Otis do that and said, you're not playing that game on me, son.
Yeah. Sandman's been around the block. I mean, they probably only need a second of fuel.
I'm thinking maybe 2.5 seconds here, just from the time that it takes.
Gallon.
I think they need about 5 laps of fuel. Here, we'll see. I guess we'll find out real quick, huh? There it is. Boy, longer than I thought.
Sandman!
Boy, Ryan Otis with an extra second on pit road, and look at that battle.
And now they come merging right out into lap traffic as well. They're having to deal with Frank Bieser, who's just going to get right in the way of Sandman. And, that's a sight of moment. And there's nothing that Frank did wrong there, but that's the sort of thing that just gets you angry behind the helmet.
And Mike Belier's right in front of Otis now. Boy, Belier, a new driver to this series, on the lead lap.
I'll tell you what, though, I would much rather be stuck behind someone coming out into Charlotte's Web than be in Otis's spot and being stuck behind someone into the twist part here. It's real hairy through there when you're following somebody.
Say the Museum Corners picked up a special kind of nickname privately in the Lionheart series, and it's not one that any of us can repeat publicly.
Nope.
Just say that there's not a lot of fans of it. Boy, Belier did a great job of getting out of the way there and letting both Otis and Sandman go by. So, shout out to him for that.
If only we had a Richard in the series. I could tie it together.
Right. Oh, Otis got a little sideways there. I thought he might have been going around.
I was looking over at the screen for Amjad here, and I thought Sandman gave him a little boop with a bumper. This is a thrilling battle right here between two very, very established road course racers.
Two of the best. To say about the quality of your league, when you can go Karam, Blocker, Otis, and Sandman in your top 4 of the number 2 series. Whoa, man! Yikes! Boy, Cody Eldred has... Man, I give him credit. He's out there turning laps, and he's within the 107% rule, but he has just been a magnet for faster cars.
Just all in the wrong spots.
It's like he's just not sure of what's going on around him, you know? That's a tough deal. What do you say we reset the top 10 here with 10 laps to go in the -273 Grand Prix of Barber? We'll continue to watch this battle for what is third on the track, but second place once you factor in presumed pit stops of Ryan Otis and George Sandman. It is Sage Karam leading, and he has led most of the laps and the most laps. He's already locked up that bonus point over Adam Blocker, who's about 16 seconds back, and again, we believe and it may even be because he incurred a penalty, may have an opportunity to one-stop this race. Ryan Otis and George Sandman on your screens, the battle for third on the track right now. They have both completed their final pit stop. They're the only 2 cars to have done so. JP Winchell's in 5th, Dustin Wardlow, David Clymer, Aaron Morgan, Dean Mall, and Little Train, Lionel Callisto. Make up your top 10, and those are the only cars on the lead lap right now as well. Mark Cohn sits 11th, just off the bubble, the first car 1 lap down. So far in this race, the only drivers that we've seen actually drop out so far are James Paulson, Ken Hacker, Adam Young, Ron Hacker, and David Altman. Cody Eldred is 2 laps down in 26th, and everybody from Mark Cohn in 11th to the injured Travis Jaegerleiner in 25th is 1 lap behind.
I'm not taking my eyes off this battle. Otis got a real big wiggle coming through those final
2 laps in a row.
Yeah, and Sandman didn't get that wiggle. So then Sandman has to check up and lose that valuable momentum that these cars need.
And this car, the IndyCar, you can check up in and you're okay. This car is under such load and has so little downforce. It's all ground effects that, if you crack the throttle more than about 70% without it being a full lift. You go around. You can't really go to 40% with load in the wheel in this car. That's not a factor.
Chris Lanini doing a good job of just getting out of the way of that right there. Before I saw that in the relative and went, yeah, I don't want to be a part of that.
I'm good. Have at it, boys. Well, and just in case you were wondering, the battle from 12th back to 15th has not lightened up at all. But Scott Holmes, Paul Jenkins, Finian, and Chad Dalton, that just like continues to be this like row of cars, one by one. There's also a battle for the 7th position right now.
Like a picture in a picture here.
Right.
Climber has it. Morgan wants it. Morgan just doing another good job, just like at Loudon, just slowly creeping up there at the end.
Boy, I tell you something else.
He was also one of those guys that pitted right at halfway, didn't he?
Right, yeah. Well, Clymer and Morgan both, I think, were the last 2 cars in. I'll tell you another battle that I'm low-key keeping an eye on because I think it might factor in by the end of this race. Dustin Wardlow is slowly but surely chipping away at JP Winchell. He's within 4 seconds of JP now. After getting clear of David Clymer, Wardlow's really been able to put the throttle down.
Ooh. Well, wide line there, but yeah, it's just being able to knock that down. Could get real interesting.
Last time by, they were both pretty even. I think that they've both maybe been trading laps where they've had some issues. And you see JP is stuck in some traffic right now, too. Taft Baldwin just in front of him. He just went around Ryan Corns. Reminder, folks, tonight's race brought to you by our good friends at Minus 273, the premier name in karting gloves. Industry-leading, super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're in a kart or you're sim racing, Minus 273 gives you that control to reach victory lane. For more info on their full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz. Minus273.biz. The promo code LHRS is good for 25% off of your orders with Minus 273. And while we're talking about the Lionheart Retro Series, of course, we can't do this without our good friends from Butt Kicker, the presenting sponsor. They add instant immersion to any game. Unlike a subwoofer that moves air and loses accuracy in force, Butt Kicker products move actual mass, creates a haptic immersion. It's powerful and accurate. Butt Kicker products add the missing driver-to-car connection. Bring more realism and immersion to your sessions. See the whole family of products at thebuttkicker.com. That's thebuttkicker.com. The promo code there is LION25. LION25 will also get you big old 25% off of your orders.
It's a good battle right there. You pointed it out. I'm watching this Morgan and Clymer battle. We got battles up front with Otis and Sandman. We got battles all over the place. The middle kind of walled out there, but then as we're getting down towards it, because we do have 6 laps to go. So this whole fuel strategy, who can make it, who can't make it, this is going to start coming to a head very fast.
By the way, Adam Blocker has closed the gap on Sage Karam to 7.5 seconds now and counting. And we'll watch David Clymer and Aaron Morgan. I don't know that we need to go to Blocker, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Adam Blocker served a drive-through penalty and is within 7.5 seconds of Sage Karam.
Well, all right. So here's something interesting. I looked up in the last time Blocker or Karam ran a 117. I looked up this last ep, it was a 116. I go on board, and he's using turn 1 as a big roller coaster. He goes off into the corner, and the revs in the engine go right down to below 2,000. So he's clutching this thing, trying to fuel save. Maybe he thinks he can get there getting it. But Blocker carved 3 or 2.5 seconds out of that the last time. And then to add extra ripples to that, Otis and Sandman are now within the pit road delta. So Karam and Blocker are both on an island where they have to make this work.
Right.
And you can hear it on board. I'll stop talking. Just listen. And you'll hear come through here. He goes a little lower. Down the front stretch. Obviously, you go wide open. But let's see. Just listen to it right here down in turn 1. All the way through turn 2. That is so hard to do because especially as you're downshifting through there, you're using the revs of the engine to kind of bring you back a little bit as an engine brake. Without using that, you're relying all on the brake pedal, which can totally mess up your rhythm and how you want to go about things. Because as a driver, you're listening for sounds, you're listening for certain engine notes to know that you're in the right spots. So
did you see the speed he had that thing slowed down to? 60 mile an hour.
Well, I mean, that was a 115.9 to a 113.7. Blocker is not saving fuel. I mean, you're not running some 114s and saving fuel. He's on the attack. So he must think he can make. Sage is trying to get there, and Otis and Sandman are both licking their chops going, please be half a lap short.
Either that or Blocker's thinking to himself, I can't make it, so I'm going to try to run him down and hope Sage can't either, put enough pressure on Sage.
Well, and what does Blocker have to lose? He's not
nothing.
Here for a championship. He's here for
first race of the year, nothing to lose.
Yeah, why not go up there and put the pressure on him?
Sage again. Just so slow.
I mean, because they're coming up right to the end of their window where they pitted the last time. Now, Karam is on lap 26. Blocker is on lap 25. I mean, unless that drive-through gave Blocker just what he needed, but I still don't think it was enough. He pitted 2 laps before halfway, I think.
Coming up to 2 laps to go when Sage Karam gets back to the line.
Yeah, they're not pitting. Otis 114.3. Sandman 114.1. Blocker 115 flat. Karam 115.6. I mean, so I think maybe they're all trying to get to it, but Sandman is on the pedal.
Dustin Wardlow was running P6. He is the first of the leaders on pit road for a second time, aside from Otis and Sandman. Remember, Ryan Otis and George Sandman do not need to pit again and have both closed within the pit delta. In fact, we'll give you an idea for Wardlow. Wardlow in and out was 27 seconds, plus the 4 or 5 seconds you spend on pit road. And boy, Wardlow comes out right in front of Karam, too.
And he's staying over and letting him go, but I bet you Sage is probably going, no, man, go. You're
right.
Cool, go ahead.
Right, those two are quasi-teammates, not officially on the same team, but they run in the same team channel and have developed quite the bond. Boy, and Adam Blocker, how about that shot down the straightaway into Museum, huh? Adam Blocker is on the same straight as Sage Karam, despite serving a drive-through penalty.
We're 2 to go. This is it. Does Karam have enough fuel? Does Blocker have enough fuel? Karam, he's coasting all the way through the uphill.
If you're going to pit, we're going to find out right now.
The
answer for Sage Karam is no. The answer for Adam Blocker is no. They're both going to try to make it, and here we go. 2.38 miles left in the minus 273 Grand Prix of Barber. And Sage Karam and Adam Blocker are running on fumes, and Ryan Otis and George Sandman are going, please, just be short. Boy, Blocker last lap ran a 113.9. That tells me Adam Blocker hit his number. Now has Sage Karam, that's the question.
But I think with that kind of, the gap is just about 2 seconds. I mean, you look back there, you see that blue car lurking, but now he's got only half of a lap to make it. I mean, Blocker or Karam is not fuel saving anymore. Listening on board, he's on the revs, he's on the pedal.
For the final time, Through the S's. Boy, he's off the throttle there, though. Still going. Up over the hill one last time. Karam.
I think he's going to do it.
Past pit road. The final 2 corners. Sage Karam with some wizardry and comes back to win the -273 Grand Prix of Barber in the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker. The 3rd win of the season for Sage Karam. Adam Blocker 2nd, and Sage is out of gas, it sounds like. I couldn't tell. Maybe he was just playing with the gears.
I think he's just having fun with it.
I tell you what a drive as the battle for 3rd comes across, and it is Otis who holds on over George Sandman. JP Winschittle for 5th.
He's out now.
These cars are so far behind. Yeah, Sage is definitely out now. These cars are so far behind, we got half a lap left. And look at JP with Aaron Morgan back there. Taft Baldwin in the way of Morgan. He lets him go. Will Morgan get a shot at him? This is the battle for 5th. Winschittle and Morgan into the final set of corners. Look at Morgan close the gap. Battle for 5th place in the final corner. Morgan tries to get a run. He's not going to get there, and JP Winschittle will hold off. Aaron, no, he doesn't. He ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel, and Aaron Morgan steals 5th place on the final straightaway. Aaron Morgan steals it from JP as they cross the stripe. Mardi Gras finishes 7th. Little Train Climber and Dustin Wardlow, it looks like, is going to come home in 10th. Holy smokes! What a finish to this one.
Oh, wait a minute.
Margin.
Hang on. To make that complicated, look, there was, on that replay, Mark Cohn ran out of gas, and he was coasting on the far right part of the track. I'm wondering.
Oh, did JP lift not to hit him?
Did he lift? But it was, I got it. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, he sputtered right before. I just looked up and saw that. Mark Cohn. Shout out to Cohn, just probably throwing it neutral, just hoping it was going to get there.
I saw that too, but I think he was out of fuel. We'll have to double check on that. Boy, what a finish. What a bunch of stories and what a bunch of interviews coming up here. Stay with us. We'll be back with your podium and the final results of the -273 Grand Prix of Barber. This is the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker, and you are watching the iRacing Esports Network.
The Sim Pit is an entertainment channel dedicated to the world of simulated motorsports. The Sim Pit is a leader in providing the sim racing community with news, reviews, interviews, DIY pieces, and instructional videos to make sim racing a better experience for all. Check us out at thesimpit.com or go to YouTube and just search for The Sim Pit.
Welcome back to the minus 273 Grand Prix of Barber on part of the Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Butt Kicker here on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by Global SimRacing Channel. Tonight, I'm Jason Galvin, along with the banker, Brian Yazik, and this is the post-race show brought to you by our good friends from Plasma Tracks as we get ready to take you through a victory lane and the final rundown here. Want to remind you that Plasma Tracks is a place to go if you're struggling to find something, person that has everything. Plasma-tracks.com produces original racetrack wall art, motorsports trophies, home decor, motorsports fabrication, and more. Words can't do justice to the uniqueness of their wear. The only way to fully appreciate this artwork is to see it yourself. But be warned, one visit, you might be trying to convince your spouse why you need Plasma Track wall art as well. It's plasma-tracks.com. We got a promo code LRS 2019. We'll get you 25% off of your order. Let's take you through the final results. Those, of course, brought to you by our good friends over at SimPit. Yaz, take us through the top 10.
Top 10, we talked about it there. A lot of different storylines at the end of it. Sage Karam bringing home the victory. Adam Blocker on the second step of the podium with Ryan Otis in third. George Sandman fourth. And Aaron Morgan rounding out the top 5 with that thrilling fuel mileage and finish there at the end of it. JP Winchittle 6th, 7th to Dean Mardi Gras Mall, 8th to Little Train Lionel Kalisto. First car one lap down, David Clymer in 9th with 10th to Dustin Wardlow.
Coming home in the 11th position, Finian DeCania just kind of quietly worked his way up through the field there, followed by Chad Dalton, Paul Jenkins. Nice run for Paul after running into some problems last night in 13th. Scotty Holmes is in 14th, along with Richie Hearn in 15th, Chris Lanini, Frank Bieser, Mark Cohn, a tough night for the championship contender in Cohn, George Anzaldo 19th, and Taft Baldwin comes home 20th.
Blackjack 21st, Ryan Collins, Mike Belair 22nd, 23rd to Travis Yeager, Liner, Eric Block in 24th, with Cody Eldred, finally probably happy to see the checkered flag on this one, in 25th. 26th to Tyson Landis with David Altman in 27th, and then Ron Hacker in 28th, 29th to Adam Young, 30th to Ken Hacker, and 31st to James Paulson after his lap 1 excursion upside down against the wall.
Yeah, that'll definitely end your race a little bit early. Well, what do you say we get some interviews out of the way, and we'll start with the man who made the fuel magic happen and came home with the win in this one. Sage Karam, a great run for you tonight, my friend. Able to hang on out there with Adam Blocker closing in. At what point did you realize that you had to go into full sail fuel saving mode?
Pretty much once I knew Adam went like 2 laps for longer than I did there after the first stop. I think he got helped out by that drive-through actually, because it was really, really close for me to make another lap, and I didn't want to risk it, so I came in. But then I had to really, really save for the last stint. I did 28 laps that last stint, so I knew I had to make up between 3 and 4 laps. The only reason I decided to do that was just because of Adam pitting 2 laps later, because I knew he was going to make it then. So I had to commit pretty early in that second stint to push that fuel saving, and I started out just by saving fuel with my right foot, and it was going pretty well, and I got about 3/4 of the way, and then I got to about 10 laps to go, and I realized it wasn't getting any closer, and I still needed to make up a little bit over a full lap. So then that's when I started just pulling the clutch in, and that's basically what I had to do. I basically didn't use the brakes the last 8 laps, and I was just coasting with the clutch, and I wouldn't downshift until I was straight, basically, just so I knew I wouldn't lock up the wheels mid-corner or something. But definitely a tough race, but had to do what we had to do, and thankfully I knew how to save fuel in the right times, and got it done.
I was going to ask you, Brian and I had talked about it a little, and I think Brian brought it up pretty extensively. How difficult is it as a driver to change to that style to where you're, dumping the clutch to slow the car down versus using the engine RPMs and the brake pedal, especially at a track like this?
Well, I think even in general, just coasting, and you try when you're saving fuel to just start coasting a lot earlier, and then you try and brake at the same brake marker a little bit later than you usually do when you're running flat out, so that the times kind of, you want to keep your time as close as you can to your flat out time, and you're saving fuel. So even that in itself is quite difficult to pick up on, and actually you can make a lot of mistakes when you're trying to transition to that. But I never like had to do clutch and stuff like that before, so that was pretty gnarly. And trying to learn that, I mean, there were a few times where, like, going down in the hairpin in turn 3 there, I would get into the clutch and I'd go down to, first gear or whatever, and I let the clutch out and the thing nearly would do a spin on me. But, at the end there, I was getting a lot better at it. And then once I saved enough fuel, with 2 to go, I knew I had enough to go like flat out 1 lap. And that was like what I wanted, just in case, Adam did get up to me, that I could push for 1 lap. And, we had enough and ran out right across the line, actually. So was able to push on that last lap. But the place is actually pretty fun to run when you don't have to run it full tilt, because this place is pretty sketchy.
That it is. Great job tonight. I know you were like questionable to attend, and instead you dominate the race, take the win, and it turns out to be a great points night for you as well. And just a side note, real quick, because we talked about Iowa in the meetup a lot, and I just wanted to say thanks for coming by and saying hi to the guys, because I know that meant a lot to everybody, and you were there to do a professional job, and we were there to hang out and party, and you still found time to come by and hang out. So we appreciated that.
Yeah, no worries. I had a lot of fun that weekend, especially having all you guys come out. I think it was around 50 guys, so that's pretty cool when guys that you kind of just like, are meeting on the internet and racing every week, come to watch you race, and are cheering for you. So that was cool. I wish I got the result that I wanted to get and could have gotten, but fortunately racing sucks sometimes, and that's just how it goes. But yeah, no, like you said, I wasn't really planning on doing this race. I wasn't even knowing if I was going to plan on doing last night's race either, just because of, I really didn't get much practice in, just because of, going to Toronto and then Iowa straight after. And I was just really, really busy. And I'm also moving. I bought a house recently, so I'm moving into that tomorrow. So I was just like swamped with packing, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to like just motor through this today so I can get the opportunity to race tonight. And I'm glad I did, so, it feels good to grab, a win again. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'll do much more of the IndyCar stuff. Maybe I'll do the road courses and stuff, but I'm going to try and stick with the Lotus and stuff, just cause I'm, a bit closer in the points.
Well, congratulations again. We appreciate everything, and we'll see you at the next race, which is Indy. Should be fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Sage Karam, your winner. Brian, second place. Adam Blocker had a bit of an adventurous night. This should be fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say I get to have the fun interview, Adam. Well, I'm not gonna ask the obvious question first. Kind of making your first retro appearance again for the year. How many times are we gonna see you this year?
I don't know. I kind of just did this one spontaneously because we did Barber last night in the IndyCar. I didn't really take that much practice to get to speed, and I had, didn't really have anything else going on. So I might try to do the Indy 250, but I don't know after that.
Solid enough. All right. So now that we've got the pleasantries out of the way, the drive-through penalty that I'm sure that upset you, but it kind of gave you a little bit of the extra fuel mileage though at the end to try to chase down Sage. So kind of talk us through from that penalty forward. Kind of talk us through what your mindset was.
Well, first of all, the penalty didn't help me at all because I was going to be able to go 26 laps no matter what. But yeah, I mean, at first I was, really mad because I didn't feel like I deserved it at all. I mean, people have gotten away with a lot worse before, and also, I mean, he did something really awkward. Like, either you got to let the guy by in the middle of the corner or on the straight. Like, don't check up and put us in that situation. But I mean, yeah, I pushed out into him, but it was one of those things like both of us, got out of it fine, no damage, nothing really on either side. But anyway, yeah, once I got on from that, just delayed the drive through as long as I could, and then came in, and yeah, I thought everyone else was going to do a 2-stop, and I was glad when I saw everyone else pitted before lap 26, and I was the only guy that made it to lap 26, because I thought I had a good shot at it. It was really tough to be disciplined there early in that stint, being kind of frustrated and stuff. But Yeah, I mean, it happened. I actually saved too much fuel. If I would have started pushing maybe 3 or 4 laps earlier, it maybe could have gotten to him, but I don't know if I had enough to pass him. So.
You definitely had the pace there. I mean, at one point we were looking up and you were running very high 113s to low 114s. And at that time, Sage was running those real high, kind of conservative fuel saving 15s and 16s. So, I mean, the pace was there for you, but, had things gone a little differently, could you have taken that top step of the podium, or do you think that just coming fresh over from the IndyCar kind of hurt you a little bit?
Oh, I mean, well, if I didn't have the drive-through, I definitely would have won. But even with the drive-through, I think I could have won if I had managed the fuel a little bit better. It's just tough in this car because, like in the IndyCar, you get the MPG readout, so you know what number you have to hit. But in this car, you don't really get any sort of good readout, or you can look in your black box and see 9.0 gallons left, but that only gives you the resolution of 0.1 gallons. That's not a lot of accuracy or precision. So yeah, it's kind of tough to manage it, and as a result, it's kind of over conservative. Probably should have went for it a little bit more, especially because I'm not going for points. But anyway, I'll take second out of it.
I got an app for you. I'll send you a link to it. Helps you out with some of that stuff.
Yazik's been trying to sell me on his app all night, Adam. Don't listen.
I mean, hey, yeah, it just works. So I mean, with that being said, we'll let you get on your night. Thanks for stopping out and hanging out with us. Congratulations and I guess commiserations on the second place, because I mean you clearly had the pace to go up there and give Sage a hard time. Whenever we do see you, maybe we'll see you next week for Indy. Have a good race, and Jason and I will see you on the track on the IndyCar side too.
Yeah, thanks guys for calling the race, and just want to give a shout out to Ryan, George, and Sage for the good racing.
Absolutely. So that was our second place finisher, and Jason, you caught up with our third place guy, who everybody in the podium has a story to tell tonight, and I can't wait to hear Otis talk about that final battle with Sandman.
Yeah, Ryan Otis comes home third, the points leader, and able to kind of withstand the heat from George Sandman there over the last couple of laps. Ryan, congratulations on your third place finish. You should hang on to the points lead here, and still by a pretty steady margin over Sage Karam. But boy, just a wild last 15 laps or so there, from the pit stop when Sandman followed you into the checkered flag. What was that like?
Well, I was really, really struggling with the car because I had on my first stop, I kind of made a big goofy mistake and slid into the pit wall and messed up the front end. And I had about 40 seconds of optional repairs that I decided not to take, thankfully. So I was really struggling with the front of the car, just trying to get it to turn. And I knew George was faster than me, but I also knew that it was nearly impossible to pass on this track. So I felt like as long as I kept it on the track and didn't make any huge mistakes, then I think it was going to be pretty difficult for him to get by.
It looked like, and so we missed you hitting the wall, but we could see the front wing damage. And that makes some more sense now, because there were a couple times, especially in the slower corners of the track, I think thinking specifically through the last section, where, boy, did it sure look like you had your hands full.
Oh, yeah, it was such a struggle through there. That was the one place where I felt like if George really set it up, that he would be able to get behind me. I was really struggling in there. I just couldn't get the front to hook up at all, and so I was having to delay power, and I had a few checkups just trying to stay on the track, and it was just kind of a big mess just about every lap there. So I felt pretty lucky just to be able to hold on to third, really.
It was fun to watch you do that there. You come home with a podium. You finished in the top 5 of every race where you haven't wrecked in the last 5 laps. So that's kind of
that.
I'm here to tell you probably should have finished in the top 5 of every race. So it's been a truly remarkable season for you this year to watch you here in the Retro Series, and you get some time off now, and then the big one. You got Indy coming up, and I know you weren't traditionally an oval guy, but you've had some great pace on ovals this year, and that's a double points race. So you got to be thinking about that race pretty heavily.
Yeah, I am. I have some logistics challenges because I'm actually going to be on the road traveling during that race, and so I'm trying to make arrangements to have like a mobile sim rig or something to bring with me. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. I think it'll be interesting, to say the least.
Ryan, I'm here to tell you right now that Jake Wright once won a race during his championship season in IndyCar from a hotel room. So I've got faith in you.
Oh, that's perfect. That's what I like to hear. Nice job, Jake.
Laptop and a G27 in a hotel room. So if he can do it, you can do it too, bud. I got faith.
Yeah, thanks.
You sound far less excited.
I don't think that message worked, Jason.
Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna be.
I might have put more pressure on him.
Well, I have a G25, and I'll be in like an RV park somewhere, seeing if their Wi-Fi is any good.
Yeah, that might be a better story than Jake in the hotel room.
Mobile
Yeah,
hotspot
I'll take a picture if I make it.
All righty, we look forward. Well, we hope you make it, Ryan, and if not, safe travels, best of luck, and we'll see you at your next race.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, guys.
Ryan Otis comes home in third, and that's going to do it for us here tonight as we wrap things up right now with the minus 273 Grand Prix of Barber. What's that yet?
I was going to say, there's the guys on the other side of the door here to the booth that they got brooms. 2 days in Alabama, they're probably getting ready to get rid of a whole lot of us.
Yeah. Amjed's had one too much of the Roll Tide references. Actually, we managed to get through that whole broadcast without talking college football. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good, yeah.
As we got a month off, then we head to Indy. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thank everybody who makes this possible for us here in the Lionheart Retro Series presented by Butt Kicker, and it starts with our sponsors from our good friends at Butt Kicker. Again, want to remind you real quick, Lion25, Lion25 is the promo code to use at thebuttkicker.com to give you 25% off of your order. Big shout out to George Anzaldo for the hospitality for the last week at his house while we invaded it, and then for all the hard work he's done to get us the info and get us ready for races this week in the Lionheart Racing Series. Got a lot of people that we thank here at GSRC and on the iRacing Esports Network, from sponsors in the league to people who help us out with software and hardware. See a list of them on your screen. June Lalonde with the music here. If you want to hear more of June's work or find out how to hear more of that work and get a hold of her, check out the information on the screen there. Brian, Amjad, Dougie, everybody at GSRC does a great job here. Thanks for your hard work. GlobalSimRacingChannel.com is the place to go for more information on GSRC-specific races. We mentioned it. The next race up is the Butt Kicker Indy 250, Thursday, August 29th. Start your Labor Day weekend off early and with a bang with the biggest race of the year in the Lionheart Retro Series. 250 miles, 100 laps of, when I say Daytona-style pack drafting, I mean Daytona-style pack drafting around Indy. It is a sight to behold. We also have several other upcoming races here on GSRC and, of course, right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure you check them out, mark them down on the calendar, tune in. Look forward to seeing you there. It's going to do it for us here. Until next time, remember, no matter how good or bad your race went, a day with racing is far better than any day without. Good night, everybody.